What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this 3D transition inside of Premiere Pro. And to be honest, this effect actually isn't that difficult to do. So if you're just a beginner or you're someone that already knows quite a lot about Premiere Pro, then you should be able to create this effect pretty easily. And if you do have any questions, then like always, just make sure to drop them down in the comments below and I will try to respond to them, or someone else in the comments may be able to help you out. But let's go ahead and get started with this effect. So I have these two clips over here in my timeline, just this first one, and then it transitions into the second one. But obviously we have no transition right now. It just cuts straight from this one to our next video layer. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and mask out the first layer. Ideally you want to have someone in the foreground or something in the foreground, so you have like a background you can actually zoom into, which creates that like 3D effect. So right here I just have Damian Lillard, and we just want to go ahead and mask him out basically, and I want to zoom into this side of the screen. Ideally you want to have somewhere in your video where you can like zoom into. So in this case I did the top right, which I feel like works well for this shot. So yeah, depending on your footage, just find a clip that works well and try to replicate this transition for it. So I'm going to go to the start of our clip here, and let's go up to this little like pen tool for the opacity, which is going to be our mask. And let's just start out over here on the left side of the screen. It doesn't really matter if we mask him because we're not going to be like zooming in over here. We only really care about this side of the screen. So create a rough mask, and then let's try to get something that looks decent. If you've ever used a mask inside of Premiere Pro, you'd know it's honestly like terrible. I don't know why they haven't really like updated it. Like compared to the masking and rotor brushing you get in After Effects, like this just does not compare at all. So honestly, if you have After Effects, it might be smart just to rotoscope him out or mask inside of After Effects and then bring it back into Premiere Pro. But so far I almost have him fully masked out. I'm just going to go ahead and link this to our first point. Now you can see we have it masked out, and obviously this side of the screen doesn't really matter because we're not going to be zooming in and you're not going to see that part anyways. So the rest should look good. And the feather, we can bring this down to like 6. We don't need that at 10. Now obviously the mask isn't actually going to be tracked onto a subject, like it's just going to be that one frame. So to fix that, you'd either have to kind of manually adjust these keyframes one by one, or we can try this I guess tracker that they have built in, which if you get lucky then you can go ahead and use, but we're going to try it and see what kind of result we get. Not really expecting anything great. All right, so our tracking just got done, and as you can tell just by this last frame here, I mean, I don't even know what it's tracking onto. Let's just go a few frames over. It looks like at the start it did a pretty good job and then just like gave up. Like I don't even know what it's trying to track onto right here. So yeah, as you can tell, like I said earlier, the Premiere Pro tracking is awful, and the masking in general. I really hope they actually update this in a future update. I mean, we have AI features coming out, but we can't even track a subject. Like, I actually don't even understand how that's even possible, but like DaVinci Resolve is free and has better tracking than this, which is kind of crazy. But to be honest, I think this is going to be good enough. And for this effect, I'm kind of just going for a super fast transition, and you shouldn't really pay too much attention, especially with all the motion blur that's going to go on. So if your mask doesn't look perfect, but it's something like this, then honestly, I just go ahead and call it good, because it's going to take way too much time to go ahead and try to fix everything yourself. So the next thing we're going to do is duplicate this layer. So if you hold down Alt on your keyboard and drag up, it'll duplicate that layer. On the bottom, let's go ahead and delete that mask. So now if we toggle it off, you can just see we have our mask layer on top. And let's bring this up one more track and bring our layer that we want to transition to and just drag it in between those layers. Now you can see our video is in the background, but we want to position it in that top right. So select that layer, go into the motion here, and if you toggle on this right here, it'll actually make it so you can drag your video layer on your screen. Let's just position that in the top right, something like this. Then let's go over here and create a new item, adjustment layer, hit OK, and bring this over our footage. And then you can also just trim it down. Next, let's go ahead and apply an effect called transform onto that adjustment layer. So right now, if we scale in on this adjustment layer, it's literally just going to scale into the middle of our footage. But what we want to do is actually keyframe it so it scales in to the top right. And the smoothest way to do this is by adjusting the anchor point. So let's move this anchor point just by using the anchor point values, and you're gonna have to mess around with this. You'll figure out like how this actually works, but right now I'm dragging it like super far off the screen, which doesn't look good, but you'll see just in a second what it's gonna do. So next you want to copy the anchor point values and then paste them into your position. So now if you scale in, it's not going to scale into the middle of your clip, and it's actually going to go into that video layer, or hopefully it does. If it's a little off, then just go ahead and mess with those anchor points and get them to where you want them to be. Just always make sure that the position is the same as the anchor. Now let's go to the start of that adjustment layer, maybe just a few frames off, and set a keyframe for the scale, and then go over to where that video layer actually shows up onto the screen. Zoom in the scale all the way till we don't see our original layer and it's just zoomed in on our next clip. And we can also bring up the shutter angle to 360. Let's open up this little drop down And I'm just going to ease in this keyframe by dragging this little point here to the right. So it's like a little ramp in. And if I play this back, you can see what that creates. I'm also just going to expand this layer just a bit to the left so I can actually see it a bit while it's zooming in. So already it's looking pretty good. Next thing we want to do is apply motion tile so the video actually like appears throughout the whole entire screen. So let's go up here and search up motion tile. Now this actually isn't a default effect inside of Premiere Pro. What I did is I actually created my own motion tile. So if you want to go ahead and download it, I have a download link in the description below. Super easy to install. You just go up to these 3 lines and then hit import presets. So once you have that downloaded, you can just go ahead and drag that onto that middle layer, and instantly you can see your video gets replicated throughout the screen. So if I toggle that off and on, you can see what the effect is doing. It might move the position of your clip a little bit, so we might have to go back and adjust it. So let's make this like 300. Yeah, we got to move that down a little bit more, maybe like 260. All right, 230, 210. There we go. I think that looks good. That looks about where we had it before. The next thing I want to do is fade in that layer. So I'm going to use the cross dissolve in Premiere Pro and bring this onto that layer, but let's just shorten that down just a bit. So now that video layer just slowly fades in. Now next I'm going to add a shake to help add the impact to this effect. So I'm going to bring on another adjustment layer and just trim this down. I'm gonna have the adjustment layer start right where that transition kind of ends, so right about here. And let's go ahead and apply one of our shake presets that I have. Obviously you can use whatever shakes you have downloaded, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use my shake presets. If you want to download these as well, I'll have them linked down in the description below. There's tons of different presets to choose from. There's like over 20, so it works super well for sport edits or any kind of videos that you want to add a bit more impact to. So I'd highly recommend checking them out if you were wanting to add some shakes to your videos. Let's go ahead and drag on one of these shakes. Let's try the go-to shake 4. Drag that onto the adjustment layer. And before I play it back, I'm just gonna render it out really quick. And yeah, that shake actually looks super clean, helps smooth out the whole entire effect in general, and the transition just looks super smooth. So you can see with it toggled off really quick, that's what it looks like before. And if I turn it on, that's what it looks like after. Super clean and easy to do. Like I said, there's a lot to choose from here, so we can just drag on another one. If we want something a little bit more of a hard shake, we have one that's called a hard shake, so let's just drag this onto the adjustment layer, render this in and out really quick. Now as you can see, we have just more of that kind of hard shake, which adds a lot more impact to the video. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, then make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.